Discover how I transformed hurtful words from my daughter-in-law into an incredible life lesson. The sharpness of Emily's words pierced through Karen like ice, cold and cruel. Your ways are outdated, Karen. You can't keep holding on to the past. Just let it go. Those words echoed painfully in her mind, unraveling the warm tapestry of her dedication to family. It felt like a betrayal. After years of nurturing her children and grandchildren, she suddenly found herself pushed aside, as if everything she had taught, a lifetime of lessons, were mere relics of an irrelevant past. Hurt and confused, Karen fled to her garden. Nestled beneath a canopy of green, surrounded by blooming roses and vibrant marigolds, her heart began to slow, but the emotional storm raged within. This sanctuary wasn't just a patch of soil. It was the essence of family bonding, picnics laden with laughter, teaching her children to plant seeds, the joy of seeing them flourish alongside the blossoms. As she pulled weeds, she grappled with the voice of doubt that gnawed at her. Could her methods really be outdated? Maybe Emily was right. But wasn't wisdom timeless? The thought of letting go felt like abandoning a part of herself. She inhaled deeply, filling her lungs with the scent of jasmine, but with each breath came anxiety, squeezing at her chest. Could she really embrace this new reality as a grandmother stripped of her teaching essence? That day brought an unexpected phone call. A local school needed mentors for a sustainable gardening program. She hesitated. Should she step out of the silence that had cloaked her for weeks? A flicker of hope ignited the yearning deep within her. Perhaps she could share her love for plants, teaching teenagers about nurturing both nature and themselves. Encouragement surged within, and for the first time in months, she felt she could reclaim her narrative. Before she could dwell on it, a notification pinged on her phone. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With newfound fervor, she dove headfirst into the project. Each session with the teens flourished into lessons of passion. Even her grandson, a brilliant mind, joined. But within her home, Emily's skepticism simmered. It's just a hobby, Karen. Don't forget your duties, she'd snap, puncturing Karen's joyous bubble. The lines of tension formed in the fabric of their family life, ominous as storm clouds gathering before a torrential downpour. As competition day approached, her heart raced, heavy with the weight of unmet expectations. Her grandson's doubts cut deeper than she could have imagined, mirroring his mother's earlier words. "Can you actually inspire us?" he asked, flooded with uncertainty. In that raw moment, doubt morphed into determination, rippling through her veins. Was she set to fail her grandson? The nagging question burrowed into her thoughts. Would her dreams dissolve under the pressure of their skepticism, shadowing her past experience and newfound identity? With the sun setting behind her cherished garden that had once brought solace, Karen faced a precipice of emotional chaos. How could she mend these delicate threads that tied them together? As familial tension reached a boiling point, Karen stood amidst her fragrant blooms, a heart longing for connection, yet wrestling with disappointment. The stage was set for an explosion of raw emotion. In a family divided by mistaken perceptions, could Karen find her voice just as the competition loomed? In her garden, she felt the weight of unspoken words and unresolved feelings tighten around her heart. Fear and resolve mingled, with the dawn of a new day threatening to reshape everything. The morning light struggled to pierce through the shroud of Karen's uncertainty as she woke up, the strains of yesterday's confrontation still echoing in her mind. Competition day had arrived, and she felt the rush of anxiety coil around her like vines, squeezing tighter with each passing moment. Determined to present herself not just as a grandmother, but as a mentor, she glanced at the garden, a reflection of her hard work and resilience. The vibrant blooms whispered promises of beauty, yet the thought of her family's skepticism held her back. She needed a plan, something to bridge the chasm between the expectations set by Emily and her children, and the passion igniting within her. Each seed planted in her garden symbolized the lessons she had wanted to instill in her family. Today, she resolved, she would plant new seeds, those of confidence, outcomes, and a willingness to embrace change. In the quietness of her kitchen, with the aroma of freshly brewed coffee wafting through the air, Karen turned her attention inward. She picked up her journal, the one where she chronicled her gardening journey, personal reflections, and the joy of nurturing life. This moment felt pivotal. It was when she realized she must confront the internal narratives she had been harboring. What if Emily's harsh critique was not a dismissal of her capabilities, but a challenge for growth? Wasn't it time to embrace the wisdom that came from both experience and reinvention? With a clear purpose, she meticulously outlined her presentation for the competition. Instead of focusing solely on gardening techniques, she plotted a deeper theme: resilience through adversity, the stories tied to each plant and flower, and how these reflected her life lessons. Each story could resonate with the students she aimed to inspire. She envisioned standing before them, using the garden as a metaphor for life, of watering their aspirations and tending to the weeds of doubt. As the hours ticked down, her grandson's words replayed in her mind. "Can you actually inspire us?" The truth was, she could feel his uncertainty, but also the glimmer of hope within him. Perhaps they shared a journey built on the back of encouragement. She decided to include him in her presentation, to spotlight his intelligence and passion, allowing him to share his perspective on the project they had worked on together. If she could uplift him, maybe this would deflect skepticism and unite them. Carving out space for vulnerability articulated Karen's intentions clearly. Just by embracing this shift in her approach, she could exceed the expectations set against her. The competition venue bustled with energy as she arrived. Young faces filled with anticipation, and educators eager for innovation. As she took a deep breath, stepping into her zone surrounded by rich foliage, she felt a rush of determination wash over her. The beauty of nature reminded her that change wouldn't come easily, but required nurturing and patience. As Karen began to speak, she shared the story of her garden. Mixed in with the laughter and gentle teasing, she threaded her personal narrative throughout, manifesting her experiences through every bloom and blade of grass. However, the tension clung to her as Emily's unsupportive posture hovered at the edge of her thoughts. Would she recognize the evolution in Karen, or hold on to a vision of her that felt comfortable yet outdated? In a defining moment of her presentation, she turned to her grandson, locking eyes with him. "This is as much his journey as it is mine," she declared, glorying in the bravery that surged from within. With every word that spilled from her lips, she felt her identity merge with that of a mentor, a teacher, and a dreamer. A legacy never defined by age, but instead by the wisdom harvested over time. As applause erupted, the validation bloomed within her like the roses in her garden. Yet, uncertainty lurked at the edges. Could she really shift her family's perception of her, and, by extension, herself? The moment was sweet, but she craved the genuine understanding that came with acceptance and the resolution of familial strife. The excitement pulsed in her veins, igniting a new reality. One where she wasn't just a quaint relic of tradition, but a vibrant force of change. As she stepped away from the podium, her heart raced not just for the competition results, but for what lay ahead. The moment of truth arrived. Now she must face Emily and uncover if this new path would bridge their rift or deepen it. Would forgiveness be enough to tear down the walls, revealing a future of shared exploration? Or would they remain stuck in old patterns? As Karen stepped away from the podium, the buzz of applause faded into the background, replaced by a ringing in her ears, a sweet reminder of victory that felt overshadowed by the weight of the unknown. She had shared her journey, unveiled her transformation. But the impending confrontation with Emily loomed large, heavy with unspoken history. With each step, the energy of the crowd swirled around her, yet she felt isolated in her thoughts. What would Emily say? Would she dismiss this version of Karen? Dismiss her growth as mere pretense? The very questions that haunted her were the seeds of doubt she was determined to pull from her mind. Navigating through the crowd, she spotted her family, their faces a mosaic of expressions. Her children's pride laced with disbelief, her grandson's eager anticipation juxtaposed against a lingering anxiety. She acknowledged their smiles with a nod, but her eyes darted toward Emily, who stood off to the side, her arms crossed as if to shield herself from what had just unfolded on the stage. "Let's grab something to eat," Karen suggested, a veil of normalcy draping over her swirling emotions. They moved toward the refreshments, Karen's heart thudding in her chest with each casual movement. This was not just about discussing her presentation. It was a chance to gauge her family's response, and to confront Emily. As they mingled, Karen tried to engage her grandson, asking him about his favorite part of the presentation. She wanted him to reflect on the journey they had taken together, to see the growth not just in herself, but in their collaboration. A moment of joy flared up in him when he spoke about how their project had sparked inspiration in his classmates. It was his light that flickered hope in Karen's heart, proving they were indeed on a shared path of courage. But then, like a cloud dimming the sun, Emily stepped closer. "You really think talking about flowers makes you a mentor?" The harshness of her words cut through the laughter surrounding them, and Karen's pulse quickened. This was it. The moment she had half anticipated, half dreaded. She felt the air grow thick and stale with tension. Karen swallowed hard. "It's about more than just flowers, Emily. It's about resilience and growth." The vulnerability in her voice felt both terrifying and exhilarating. Every flower tells a story. They represent challenges, triumphs, just like all of us. "No one wants to hear another story about you proving yourself," Emily retorted, her voice tinged with skepticism and something deeper, perhaps fear of the unknown. "What exactly do you think you're achieving with this?" It was a challenge, a knife edged with the history of their complicated relationship. For a moment, Karen fought an impulse to retreat into defensiveness. Yet that would only perpetuate the cycle of misunderstanding that had held them captive for so long. Drawing a measured breath, she allowed her heart to guide her response. "Maybe it's not just about me anymore. I want to inspire him, to be a bridge, not a barrier." She gestured towards her grandson, who stood listening, his chest rising with the tension. Emily raised an eyebrow, the skepticism still etched on her face, but Karen caught a flicker of curiosity in her eyes, barely perceptible, but undeniably present. Karen pressed forward. "What if I could help him embrace his own journey, just like I'm trying to embrace mine?" The silence that followed pulsed with unsaid emotions. It was an opening, a possibility that could shift the dynamics between them, yet also a perilous path. In that moment, Karen saw a glimmer of potential where once there was only doubt. This confrontation could redefine their relationship, but it would require honesty, vulnerability, and an acceptance of the past. Would Emily choose to engage with her? The weight of uncertainty still pressed down, but the hint of resolve that had emerged in the wake of her presentation simmered just beneath the surface. The journey they could embark upon together loomed before Karen, inviting her to forge ahead. As she caught her breath, preparing for another round of words that could lead either to understanding or further division, she sensed the shifting nature of their future. Would they find the strength to evolve, or would they remain ensnared in old patterns? The moment hung heavy in the air, thick with potential. Karen's heart raced, teetering on the brink of revelation, ready to confront the complexities of forgiveness and acceptance. The air crackled with silence after Emily's words, thick with unspoken tension. Karen felt the weight of each heartbeat pulsing in her ears, as if the world had narrowed down to just the two of them. In that charged moment, she was keenly aware that this conversation could go either way. Was this a moment of possibility, or just another loop in the cycle of doubt? Why would you want to do this? Emily's eyes pierced Karen's as if trying to unearth a hidden agenda. At your age, shouldn't you focus on relaxing instead of trying to play the wise woman? What's your angle? Karen clenched her jaw at the provocation. It struck her that this scrutiny wasn't just aimed at her latest speech, but at her entire transformation. What if my angle is simply to grow? What if I've realized the value of my experiences? They weren't just failures. They were parts of me building resilience. Emily's expression faltered for a brief moment, and Karen saw a flicker of something, perhaps regret or confusion. She seized the opportunity, emboldened by the strength that had washed over her during her presentation. I'm done hiding, Emily. What I want is to be a guide. I want others to see that they can evolve too, no matter the circumstances that try to hold them back. The crowd around them softened into an indistinct background murmur. It was just them now. Emily's lips thinned, her internal battle barely visible beneath her practiced facade. Karen pressed on, hoping to bridge the chasm between them. It's an uncomfortable conversation, isn't it? But we need to have it. You've been angry. I've felt it. And I'll admit, I didn't want to believe it was directed at me. For a moment, Emily looked away, fighting back the look of vulnerability that threatened to break her steely demeanor. This isn't just about you and me, she countered, yet her voice softened, revealing the tautness in her resolve. Every time I see you trying to prove yourself, I wonder if it's too late for me. Karen's heart softened at the raw honesty in those few words. Emily, it's never too late. You're carrying your own burdens, and often, I want to help. You're a part of this family, and becoming a mentor is what I aspire to. But it can only work if we both move forward together. Emily's lips curled into a bitter smile. And what if I don't want to move? You seem so ready to assume the role of the teacher. What if I'm not ready for that? Karen contemplated the walls Emily had built, acknowledging the fear nestled within that bravado. She would have felt defensive in the past, but now she understood the power of stepping back and listening. Then let's take it slow. Let me show you how growth feels like. It doesn't have to come with grand gestures or dramatic moments. As she spoke, she felt vulnerability transform into strength within herself. How about we start small? Maybe by sharing stories. Not just mine, but yours too. I want to know you, even the parts of you that are afraid. A silence enveloped them, pregnant with palpable possibilities. Karen leaned into that moment, willing to embrace discomfort for the sake of change. She could almost see the gears turning in Emily's mind, the conflicting emotions wrestling within her. Fine, Emily muttered, though the bitterness had lessened, replaced with something softer, a reluctant acceptance perhaps. We can talk, but don't expect me to dive into this mentorship nonsense. That's all I ask, Karen replied, relief mingling with a surge of determination. Let's navigate this together. I believe in you, and I believe you can find your voice too. As they chewed on those tentative agreements, the weight hanging between them shifted, making space for a new understanding. Karen seasoned the silence with hope, flicking her gaze towards her grandson, who was obliviously drifting away in a world of his own. And then, like a weight lifting, Karen realized that whatever history had tainted their connection, she was committed to dispelling it. She sensed the exhilarating prospect of tomorrow, a chance to weave new narratives and weave resilience not just for her, but for Emily as well. As she prepared to speak again, determined to make the most of this new opening, a thought struck her. What else had she been blind to in her own journey? What about the stories still waiting to be told? The moment transformed from tension into opportunity, and with every breath, she understood that what lay ahead was not just dialogue, but a deeper exploration of both their lives. A journey that promised to unravel layers of truths long hidden. Little did she know, Emily would soon confront her own past challenges, amplifying her struggle, testing their fragile truce and Karen's resilience to its limits. The following morning was marked by a golden light filtering through the curtains, casting warm, delicate shadows that danced across the walls. Karen awoke with a renewed fervor, feeling a sense of clarity that had eluded her for too long. Since last night's conversation with Emily, the anxiety that typically accompanied her mornings was replaced by a singular focus. This was about more than just mentorship. It was about forging a new path together. In the kitchen, she poured herself a cup of coffee, the rich aroma stirring memories of countless mornings spent in reflection. As she sipped the steaming brew, she reflected on the exchange with Emily. Such moments unfolded layers she hadn't contemplated in years. Her journey wasn't simply about defining herself, but rather about rebuilding relationships that had grown fragile over time. That day, Karen had decided to not only address her conflict with Emily, but also identify the blocks that had kept her from fully embracing her growth. The idea sparked a flicker of fear within her. What if the discussion opened old wounds that neither of them was ready to confront? What if their progress was merely superficial? Determined not to let doubt cloud her resolve, she set her mind to create a structured yet intimate environment for their conversations. A small notebook lay open on the counter as she began jotting down thoughts and boundaries, her heart racing in rhythm with the pen gliding across the page. "What if we pledge to be vulnerable?" she wrote. "Promote a space of trust, where honesty is welcomed. Share a painful story from our past as a starting point." Conflicted emotions swirled within her. Could this really work? What if exposing her own wounds only alienated Emily further? Yet, the conviction that had blossomed inside her urged her to confront these fears head-on. After breakfast, she reached out to Emily, suggesting they meet at the park that afternoon. "Let's make it an outing," Karen proposed, her voice steadier than she felt. "An informal setting might help. We can take a walk, share stories. Nothing heavy, just a conversation." Emily's response was cautious, but accessed a sense of intrigue that Karen hadn't expected. "All right, let's give it a shot." As the hours passed, anticipation mingled with trepidation in Karen's mind. Each step towards the park amplified her determination to articulate her vision. She focused on breathing, channeling the wisdom she had garnered through years of personal reflection. The rhythmic cadence of her thoughts began to weave together an intricate narrative, threading together her past, her aspirations, and what she truly desired for both herself and Emily. Upon arriving at the park, she spotted Emily leaning against a tree, an unmistakable sign of her nerves. A part of Karen felt unsettled at the sight. She recognized the defensive posture all too well. The pang of familiarity gnawed at her, a reminder of her own past emotions. As they began to walk, Karen felt an urgent need to seize the moment. "You know, I've been thinking a lot about what you said yesterday, about feeling like it's too late. I want to share something that might help frame that feeling differently." Emily turned to her, skepticism mingled with curiosity in her eyes. "All right," she murmured, crossing her arms lightly, still guarded. "I used to feel that way too," Karen began, her voice steady. "After my husband passed, I thought I had lost my chance for happiness and connection. But I knew I couldn't let despair win. I dug deep to discover strength in vulnerability, learning that every moment, regardless of age or circumstance, is a chance to redefine oneself." She paused, gauging Emily's reaction. She noticed a slight softening in the younger woman's expression, an opening just wide enough for Karen to continue. "Maybe vulnerability isn't a sign of weakness," she suggested. "What if it's the exact thing that gives us the power to connect and evolve?" With every word, she felt barriers between them begin to crack, but just as suddenly, she sensed the tensions drained. The flicker of recognition in Emily's eyes transformed into something darker as unspoken fears clawed their way back into focus. "Those words sound polished," Emily countered, the familiar edge returning. "You make it sound easy." But it's not that straightforward. The tension hovered in the air, its weight pressing down on Karen. She knew that this moment could either cement their strides towards understanding or send them spiraling back into their past identities. Karen took a deep breath, ready to dive back into the fray. Discomfort was now their companion, one that might illuminate the truth they both needed to confront. "Why don't we sit for a moment?" she suggested, pointing to a bench nearby. "I think we've reached a point where we can explore these emotions rather than shy away from them." As they settled into the unyielding realities of each other's burdens, Karen understood that reaching this junction had awakened something profound. They could either unravel together or succumb to their self-imposed isolation. And deep down, she knew they were only beginning to peel back layers that had long shielded their hearts. But as she prepared to reveal an even deeper truth about her journey, a part she had kept hidden even from herself, she caught Emily's wary gaze. And suddenly, she was unsure. Would unveiling such raw honesty fortify their bridging connection, or would it shatter the fragile thread of trust they had finally begun to weave? The silence between them felt like a chasm, an echo of unspoken words vibrating in the air. Karen's mind raced as she sought the right angle, a thread through which to weave a more profound understanding. Beneath the unease lurked the urgency to break their emotional stalemate. As she took a moment to steady her thoughts, she became acutely aware of the droplets of sweat forming at her temples, remnants of the summer heat. Choosing vulnerability felt frightfully risky, but there was potential for something meaningful to blossom. The pain of her past was a heavy weight. Sharing it might fracture her defenses, but could also pave the way for liberation. She toyed with the notion of honesty, swallowing hard as she prepared to unveil the echoes of loss that had shaped her. "Emily," she began, her voice barely above a whisper, "there's something I've carried for so long. It's about the words that have haunted me, ones I received from someone I loved deeply." Emily's posture softened, the tension of defensiveness giving way to curious apprehension. Karen continued, her heart pounding with each word. "It was just after my husband died. Someone I cared about said to me, 'You know, you'll never be the same again. Life won't offer you a second chance.' The truth is, I believed it. I anchored myself to that pain." Karen paused, gauging Emily's reaction, which shifted from guardedness to something like empathy. A fleeting glance of recognition crossed her face before the wall went back up. "It took years for me to realize those words were an opinion, not a prophecy. I wasn't bound by someone else's narrative. No one can define what my life can or can't be. It's still my story to write." She felt the heat of old wounds as she shared those words, not merely for herself, but to resonate with Emily's own struggles. The younger woman's expression flickered, a combination of contemplation and skepticism. "But that was you, Karen. You found the strength to redefine your life. Not everyone can do that." A nagging frustration bubbled to the surface. Was Emily so entrenched in her own limitations that she couldn't see the potential for change? "That's precisely it, Emily. I didn't find that strength in isolation, nor did I find it by only listening to people who upheld my despair. I dug myself out with the help of others." The shift in Karen's tone hung in the air like a challenge, igniting a flame of urgency in her chest. What if you were to rethink your own story? What if the voices you've trusted lead you to this false conclusion that it's too late? Isn't that a prison of your own making? Karen watched as Emily's defenses began to tremble, awareness dawning amidst skepticism. "But it's hard for me to see it that way. I don't have your bravery. I feel like I'm still grappling with doubts." "Bravery isn't the absence of fear," Karen countered gently. "It's the decision to act despite it. And you've already decided to sit with me today. Don't underestimate that." Emily blinked back at her, the vulnerability almost palpable. Karen saw a flicker of possibility in her eyes, the latent power that came from acknowledging and sliding past discomfort. If there was a way out, they could discover it together. But Karen's heart tightened with the weight of her next words. "You have that capacity, Emily, to discard the narrative others handed you and challenge it at every turn. But I can't do it for you. You have to trust yourself enough to believe in that possibility. The bench creaked beneath their shifting weight, a metaphor for the precariousness of their trust. For all her courage, Karen wondered if she had overstepped. Would this bracing confrontation of realities ground Emily, or would it fracture what little connection they had rekindled? An impulse surged within her, one that urged her to press forward even as fear countered her resolve. Why don't you tell me about the words that have held you back? Exposing them might let both of us begin to loosen our grip on them. The silence that followed was thick with an unresolved urgency, an anticipation heavy with tension. At that moment, they stood on the precipice of revelation, the weight of unspoken truths hanging heavily in the balance. Both women teetered between connection and retreat, and Karen sensed that how this conversation unfolded could redefine the very core of their ongoing struggle. Would Emily find the courage to share, or would the fear of being seen align her back toward her walls? The clock ticked softly in the background, a reminder that the choice lay just out of reach, begging to be seized. Emily's gaze dropped to her lap, fingers intertwining nervously as if seeking comfort in their confinement. Karen observed the turmoil flickering in her eyes, a tempest of emotions caught between desire and fear. It was now or never. Those unspoken words that chained Emily were begging to be liberated. Emily, Karen ventured softly, her voice threading through the charged atmosphere. You're not alone in this. Everyone carries a burdensome narrative, but the real power lies in rewriting it. What is it you're afraid of if you speak those words? The younger woman flinched. You don't understand. I've been haunted by them for years. You won't amount to anything after what you've done. Those words play on loop in my mind, like a broken record. Karen's heart sank at Emily's admission, but also ignited a flicker of determination within her. She leaned in, eager to nudge Emily closer to freedom. Those words were hardly the truth of your potential, were they? They were merely opinions, shadows of someone else's disappointment. Emily shook her head slowly, a hint of anger bubbling to the surface. It's easy for you to say. You've built a life despite your losses. I feel like I'm still standing in the ashes of my mistakes, unable to envision anything better. Staring into those depths, Karen sensed an opportunity to guide Emily to a revelation. We each have ashes, Emily. Mine are reminders of my past, but they don't define my future. Owning them is part of the journey. If you were to confront those words, could you rewrite them? The air between them thickened with their shared vulnerability, a moment suspended in time. As silence enveloped them again, Karen could feel the weight of Emily's fears resonating through the air. The ticking clock seemed to punctuate her restlessness, and she pressed on. Say those words aloud. Give voice to the fear that's been holding you captive. We'll face them together. With a hesitant breath, Emily began. You won't amount to anything after what you've done. The sentence felt heavy, like a stone dropped into still water, sending ripples of discomfort across the space between them. Now, what do those words mean for you? Karen asked, carefully extricating threads of truth from the emotion hanging heavily in the air. Can you see how they've shaped your self-image? A deep furrow creased Emily's brow, her gaze steadying as she mulled over her response. They emphasize my failures, showing that I'm stuck in the past. But I don't want that to be my identity. She half choked, the raw honesty breaking through her defenses. Then let's redefine it, right here and now, Karen encouraged, the urgency in her voice merging with a newfound enthusiasm. These words don't dictate your present. How would you like to transform them? Emily's breath quickened, the battle within her leaning toward a breakthrough. What if I wrote a new narrative? Something like, I am resilient. My past doesn't hold me prisoner. That's it. Karen's voice rang with excitement, the breakthrough glowing with clarity. You are not your mistakes. You're a tapestry woven from experiences, each one adding complexity and beauty. This can be the moment where you reclaim your story. As Emily inhaled deeply, Karen felt the energy shift in the air, tension unwinding between them like a tightly coiled spring releasing its strain. Emily's transformative realization hung delicately in the air, a promise just waiting to be nurtured. But the question loomed. Daring to define herself differently would trigger a wave of uncomfortable challenges. How would she navigate this newly embraced identity? Would the fear of others' judgment whisper back to her? Karen leaned closer, sensing the tremor of uncertainty beneath Emily's newfound resolve. What steps will you take from here? Action is where the real transformation begins. As their eyes locked, Emily's fears intermingled with newfound courage, leaving both women standing at the precipice of evolution. But as the gravity of her past called out once again, she asked, "What if I falter? What if I can't sustain this newfound strength?" The atmosphere crackled, and the path ahead blurred with challenge, complexity, and an undeniable promise of personal growth. In that moment of vulnerability and hope, Karen knew they were both on the brink of something monumental. But would Emily step forward, or retreat once more into her past? Emily's thoughts swirled chaotically, oscillating between hope and fear as she grappled with her newfound resolve. What would it take to sustain this promise of change? A small part of her yearned to grasp tightly at the emerging identity of resilience, while another recoiled at the thought of failure, at the possibility of slipping back into that suffocating cocoon of self-doubt. Karen maintained her steady gaze, offering an anchor amidst the storm brewing in Emily's mind. It's important to remember that transformation is not linear. There will be highs and lows, but every step forward, no matter how small, strengthens your new narrative. What can you do today to begin? The question hung in the air, another stimulus for introspection. Emily considered it gravely. The idea of declaring her new identity felt akin to standing on a cliff's edge, with an exhilarating view of what could be. Yet the plunge into the unknown was terrifying. I guess I could start small. Maybe I could share this new narrative with someone close to me. Absolutely, Karen affirmed. Who might you trust to support you? Sharing your story can amplify its power. I think I'll talk to my mom, Emily said, a hint of hesitation creeping into her voice. The relationship with her mother had always been complex, colored by the weight of her expectations and her frustrating insistence on traditional measures of success. Would her mother embrace this new Emily? Or would she unwittingly reinforce those haunting words tied to Emily's past? The conflict unsettled her. Deep chasms of fear combined with glimmers of hope wrestled within. But what if she doesn't understand? What if she tells me I'm wrong for wanting to let go of my past? It's not about them, Karen interjected calmly. It's about you. Your journey is yours alone. Share what you can, and if it's met with negativity, remember that this doesn't define your worth or your path. The room felt electrified by the tension of revelation and vulnerability. Emily's heart raced as she envisioned that conversation with her mother. The thought of rejection ignited that familiar anxiety, but a different voice whispered the urgency of claiming her space in the world. With renewed clarity, she closed her eyes, conjuring the image of her mom's face. I will share this with her. I need to. Even if it's difficult, I think I need to take this step. In that moment, something within Emily began to settle. The ground beneath her feet felt slightly more stable. It was a small victory, yet monumental in its implications. Claiming her voice signified an essential act of self-empowerment. Then make a plan. When will this conversation happen? Karen prompted, sensing the shifting energy. Emily took a moment, gathering her thoughts. Maybe this weekend. I can invite her over for coffee. A relaxed environment might help ease into it. There you go. You've got a timeline. Now visualize how that conversation can unfold. As she began to picture the scenario, she felt a tension release in her shoulders. Rather than fearing judgment, there was a flicker of excitement for the potential of what could evolve from sharing her truth. Yet, an underlying dread still loomed. What if she doesn't see me as I am now? What if my past shadows our interaction, and she brings it up? Those memories I want to move beyond. Prepare for all possibilities, Karen advised, her tone firm yet encouraging. Whether your mother embodies disappointment or enlightenment, you will emerge stronger. The weight of this potential dialogue rested heavily on Emily's chest. A new mental action stemmed from the clarity she had begun to cultivate. Confrontation and articulation of her new narrative. How would her mother react? Would it embolden Emily to embrace her strength and her past simultaneously? The question spurred a whirlpool of thoughts. And though Emily could not foresee the answer, the anticipation crackled with both fear and excitement. She was not only preparing for a conversation, she was stepping into a version of herself that had long eluded her, but could it withstand the scrutiny? The tentative hope was both electrifying and terrifying. Could this singular act of bravery propel her forward into a life of integrity and authenticity? As Emily and Karen caught their breath, the sense of burgeoning courage melded with uncertainty, embedding itself within a deeper conflict poised to unfurl. Would this discussion liberate Emily from her past? Or would it tighten the shackles she longed to shed? Only one way to find out. She'd have to take that leap into vulnerability. The moment of truth awaited her, shadowed by the memory of what once was, and illuminated by the vision of who she aspired to be. The sun broke through the clouds on Saturday morning, casting a warm glow that enveloped Emily's kitchen as she prepared for her mother's visit. Anxiety twisted in her stomach, a reminder of the stakes of this conversation. She wiped down the countertop methodically, each stroke of the cloth an attempt to dispel the turmoil within. The scent of coffee wafted through the air, a familiar comfort in the midst of apprehension. Despite the rising tide of thoughts, Emily reminded herself of Karen's words, the importance of sharing her narrative. She filled a simple ceramic mug, the one embossed with a witty quote her mother often teased her about, and set it on the table. Emily's mind flicked back to childhood memories spent in this very kitchen, her mother's disapproving remarks echoing in the corners. Would it be different today? Could she speak her truth without the fear of being judged? The thought sent a chilling wave through her. As the clock ticked closer to the appointed time, the minutes stretched endlessly. Emily caught her reflection in the gleaming window. She looked composed, yet inside, a battle waged on. Would her mother even recognize the woman standing in front of her? Would she see a daughter embracing growth, or a disappointment reflecting missed milestones? When the doorbell rang, a jolt surged through her. She smoothed down her blouse and took a deep breath. This was it. The leap into vulnerability beckoned. "Hi, Mom," she greeted, opening the door with a smile that felt somewhat forced. "Emily, dear." Her mother's expression carried the weight of expectation, mixed with a flicker of warmth. "It's nice to see you. It smells wonderful in here." "Thanks. I made coffee," Emily replied, leading her mother inside. They settled at the table, the atmosphere thickening as they steered toward the inevitable. Pushing herself to dive deeper, Emily poured her mother a cup and seized the moment. "Mom, I wanted to talk to you about something important." Her mother's features tightened slightly, a subtle indication that the conversation was teetering on nuanced ground. "What is it?" Emily's heart raced as she proceeded with careful precision. "I've been on a journey of understanding myself. I want to let go of the past that has held me back for so long." Her mother's brow elevated, the tension palpable. "What do you mean? You're doing well at your job, you've got friends. Why change?" The question sliced through the air, instantly igniting a defensive fire within Emily. But she gathered her resolve, reminding herself of Karen's advice. "Because I realized I've been living for others' definitions of success, rather than my own. I want to step into who I truly am." She watched her mother's expression evolve, confusion mingling with concern. "Are you saying you're unhappy?" "Not unhappy, just unfulfilled in ways I didn't see before," Emily felt her pulse quicken, but she steered the conversation. I need to explore new paths that resonate with me, apart from the expectations. The silence hung heavily, a vice closing around them. Emily's heartbeat echoed in her ears as she fought to stave off the rising panic. This was the moment. Would her mother resonate with her revelation, or retreat into her comfort of traditional expectations? Her mother's gaze softened. I've always wanted the best for you, but I didn't know. Her voice trailed off, revealing glimpses of vulnerability. You didn't know how much it weighed on me, Emily interjected gently. This isn't about rejecting your love or guidance. It's about reclaiming my life. The words hung in suspension, both women caught in a moment of reflection. The coffee steam swirled upward, mirroring the tension transforming into a fragile hope. Emily, her mother began. But Emily could see the struggle within her. The years of expectation and conversation intertwined, motions arrayed in the intricacies of maternal bonds. If you could just try to embrace who I'm becoming, Emily pressed, summoning the courage wrapped around her words. But what if this revelation shattered their bond instead of repairing it? As the silence continued, the authenticity of her attempt felt precarious, balancing on a knife's edge. Just as Emily felt the swell of despair rising again, her mother finally nodded. I want to understand. Help me, please. It was a small breakthrough, yet it felt monumental. But just as Emily dared to hope, a shadow flickered behind her mother's eyes. Just know, I might have questions. Questions that come from love, her mother warned, tentatively extending a bridge toward understanding. Emily's chest tightened, the impending reality of that challenge looming larger than she anticipated. This conversation was only the beginning, not an end. Would her mother's questions propel her journey forward, or drag her back into doubt? An unease settled back in Emily's stomach, but she stood resolute, tethered to a newfound clarity. Yet beneath that determination simmered the gnawing anxiety of the uncertain road ahead. Let's keep talking, she urged, her voice steady, but her heart trembling as the depth of the dialogue unveiled its potential to both heal and hurt. The air buzzed between them as silence enveloped Emily and her mother, fraught with the weight of what lay ahead. They were standing at the threshold of transformation, poised to cross into a territory that had remained unexplored for years. Emily felt an undeniable strength tethered to her conviction to share her narrative, a power blossoming from within, ready to redefine the conversations that had so often circled around expectations and disappointments. As they sipped their coffee, moments of familiarity mingled with the gravity of their discussion. Mom, I want you to realize that it's okay to challenge everything we've always assumed, Emily said, steadying her voice as she swept her gaze over her mother's face, searching for a flicker of understanding. Her mother's brow furrowed, the weight of unspoken thoughts shadowing her expression. She started, hesitating as if grappling with the implications of her question. Have I been the one holding you back? The honesty caught Emily off guard, disarming her defensiveness. It elicited a wave of empathy, yet her heart raced with the importance of crafting her response carefully. I think in many ways we've both been afraid of change, of disappointing each other. But hiding from those fears has kept us stagnant. With every word, Emily discovered layers of truth within both of their experiences, realizing the complex fabric that had woven their relationship. Her mother's frown deepened, hinting at recognition. By acknowledging their shared fears, they were both taking steps into unfamiliar but empowering territory. Emily, I didn't intend to suppress you. It's just, no one wants to see their children struggle. Her mother admitted, her voice laced with vulnerability. I wanted you to have a secure path. I thought that would bring happiness. Emily shook her head gently. But happiness isn't just about security. It's finding fulfillment, even amidst uncertainty. It's also about understanding that we can redefine what success looks like, not merely for each other, but for ourselves. Her mother's gaze shifted. Uncertainty still painted across her features, yet there was a subtle shift beneath it. An inkling of hope, perhaps, battling against long-held beliefs. They had ventured into a dialogue that could reshape their future, and for the first time, Emily could feel the possibility lingering in the air. What if I were to support you? Help you on this path of exploration? Her mother ventured, a hint of thawing evident in her tone. Emily felt the weight of her mother's words. This was not just an agreement. It was a challenge cloaked in support. Taking a deep breath, she replied, I would love that, Mom, but it has to be alongside my journey, not overshadowing it. A deep furrow creased her mother's brow. So what does that journey look like? If you're not doing what I thought, what are you aiming toward? Emily smiled gently, aware that they stood at a crossroads where clarity would become their guiding star. It's about rediscovering my passions, things I've buried out of fear. I want to create, to write, to nurture the connections I've lost, like the one we're beginning to revive today. The conversation momentum began to shift toward mutual exploration, and Emily could see her mother wrestling with the truths emerging, the real, raw reflections of themselves. It was time to extend the conversation, allowing both of them to process the territories they had yet to cross. Maybe we could start small, Emily suggested, her heart racing with the excitement of what could unfold. How about we sign up for a community class together? Something that sparks creativity and engages us beyond our usual routine. Her mother pondered for a moment, and Emily observed as the memories of shared interests danced lightly in her mother's expression. You mean art or writing? Yes, something that doesn't bind us to the past, but acknowledges it and propels us forward, Emily affirmed, her voice brimming with enthusiasm. There was a crackle of excited energy that began to forge an emerging connection, crafted from their willingness to explore uncharted territories. Okay, let's do it, her mother finally declared, her voice steady but tinged with a hint of awe. Let's step into this unfamiliar light together. In that moment, satisfaction surged through Emily's heart with the certainty that they were collectively embracing transformation, a promise of growth through shared vulnerability. The ties of doubt that had shackled her began to loosen, and as she ventured deeper into this dialogue, she caught her mother's gaze, their eyes meeting with unspoken understanding, a bridge forming from the remnants of their past. Thank you for being open to this, Emily said softly, her heart swelling with gratitude and determination. I know it won't always be easy, but I believe this is the start of something beautiful. For both of us. They laughed lightly, a melodic sound that infused the atmosphere with levity. The constraints of expectation had begun to fade, revealing the gleaming potential of what lay ahead. With each passing moment, Emily felt tangibly connected to her mother, realizing that the journey toward transformation had only just begun, and it was filled with shared aspirations and dialogues that would inevitably reshape who they were. As they gathered their mugs, a new understanding illuminated the space around them. The kitchen, once a crucible for old judgments, had transformed into a sanctuary of connection and possibility, the very embodiment of growth. There was an unshakable confidence blooming within them both. They recognized the potential for shared journeys, securing hope for the days ahead, eager to craft their evolving narratives hand in hand. Both fully aware that this path would require effort, determination, and resilience, they stepped forward with newfound strength. Together, they stepped out of the shadows, ready to pursue the brighter possibilities life had to offer. In this recognition of individual growth and the bridge of support forged between them, Emily celebrated her well-earned transformation, proof that change was not only possible, but potent. The journey unfolded before them, rich with laden discoveries and opportunities waiting to be harvested. They knew it would require nurturance and perseverance, but more importantly, they understood that together, they could thrive, no longer bound by their past, but propelled by the hope of their shared future. This was not merely an ending, it was an exhilarating beginning. Leaning back in her chair, Emily let out a contented sigh, satisfied at how far she had come to this moment, where growth intertwined with reconciliation. Empowered and proud, she reveled in the promise of a brighter tomorrow, much brighter than she had ever envisioned. For those who resonate with these themes of personal growth, remember, take that first step. Every journey begins with a single declaration of change, just as Emily did with her mother. Own your path, redefine success, and forge connections that inspire. You too can create your narrative. Now is the time to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, because every action matters in the journey of overcoming. Comment below on your reactions and theories about this ending. You need to engage, and we want to hear from you.